What's going on? It's Monday, which means Monday Night Football. And, well, let's face it, the coffers are full. We're feeling good. Enjoying it, ready for a good showdown slate that doesn't suck balls. Somebody where the winning score might actually get about 50 points. I don't know. That's what some people are saying. We'll have to see. What's up, new guy? I'm the Degenerate 75. I'm a DFS content creator who is here to help you get a little bit better at DFS. If you're waiting on my picks and plays, you just leave now. Just leave. I'm going to save you some time. There's not going to be any picks and plays. I'm going to go over the process, how to construct rosters, how to give yourself a chance, and most importantly, how to play the game. If that sounds interesting, hang around for about the next 30 minutes. Toss your questions over there in the chat. I will get to them, and it'll also get you eligible for a drawing to build a contest with, or to build a lineup with me. And if you really find you like the cut of my jib, just know I do this every Monday and Thursday for the Monday night and Thursday night games. I also do a final look every Saturday. I do college football Friday night. I do golf Wednesday. And every Tuesday, I do a week preview. This week, it is on my station with my dude, Toe Tag and Tambo. Be there for that. We get all of our first thoughts. And please remember, they're first thoughts, you dipshits. If I have to have one more person be like, you said Josh Fields. Watch the stream Saturday night. I said I'm off that fucking loser, okay? Get with it. All right, this is our first thoughts. First, it's a preview, not a here's what I'm definitely doing this week on a Tuesday. All right? Hey, for every 50 likes we get over there, I will be drawing names to build a lineup with me that we will throw in the Millionaire Maker tonight, okay? Also, another note, if you're one of those people that's like, why would I play the Millionaire Maker? I'm paying for it. Don't be that guy. It's a free roll for you, okay? I got money. Trust me. I can afford to build a lineup with you, all right? It's positive EV for you because you're getting a free roll. Yes, it's negative EV for me, but I want to thank all you sweaty tryhards for being here, okay? So do that. We will do that drawing at the end to get in it. Ask up to 2 questions. You have more than 2 questions, I'm booting your ass, all right? Let's talk a little contest selection night. They actually, it looks like they got 2 millionaire makers tonight. They got a 44.94 tonight. I don't know why that's tonight. I don't know. No chance I'm playing in that. But if you want to, you go right on ahead. The big millionaire maker. I mean, we're up to 44.4% of all of the money going to first place. Just redonkulous. Just redonkulous. You can play in it if you want, but here's the rule I'll always tell you. There's 3 kinds of people to play in this. The people who are playing 150 lineups, that's acceptable. The guy who does his one lineup every week because he has a dream and he needs something to do on a Monday night, and fucking morons. Those are the 3 kinds of people. 2 and 3, there's a fine line right there, by the way, right? So I encourage you not to do it, all right? Unless you're going to put 150 in or you're playing it with me. That'd be my advice. You do whatever you want with your money. I will just tell you for my process, what I've been doing this year is I've just been sticking to contests that are smaller. I've actually gotten about 3 or 4 DMs from people saying, hey man, look, this contest, I actually won this GPP. There was only 500 people in it. If this was in the main, it would have won me like $20, but instead I won 500. That's what it's all about. Get in contests where you can have a real chance to win, so you have an increased chance of sweat. You get much better return on your investment by putting that in there, and that is the best advice I could give you for Showdown. The other thing I would say is let your narratives, if you think tonight's going to be a shootout, which by the way is not a very bold take, well, then you probably are going to need to have a bunch of lineups because there's a lot of different variations of different people who can play well tonight if this game shoots out. But say you think this game's going to be a bit of a slog. Last night, if the Bills can get in a sloggy game, anybody can get in a sloggy game, right? So maybe you think this game's going to be 17-10 or something like that. Well, in that case, that is a very unique narrative that you are running with, and I don't think you need a ton of lineups to really get leverage on that, right? You could probably just play 3 versions of a sloggy lineup, go put it in a good structured 3-max, and that would be good, right? I think that that's a real good way to consider it. Let your narrative drive how many types of lineups you need to build. If you're going with a chalky type narrative like the shootout tonight, well, then I think you're going to probably need to put in 20 lineups to get different variations because there's so many pieces that can go off. But in a sloggy game, there's really only a handful of guys who tend to do well in sloggy games, right? So then you don't need to put as many lineups in there. That's the 2 pieces of advice I would give you, okay? We're not going to go over every contest. They have everything you would ever want, from the MMEs, which is the 150 to the 20-max to the 3-max to the single entry. DraftKings does us good on these showdown slates, and then they get all their rake from all the people having a dream on the millionaire maker that are never going to win it, right? Okay. Hey, you want to know something? I did win a GPP yesterday. Yes, I don't flex on Twitter because I don't want you joining up to my site because I win GPPs. That's not what I want, but what I can tell you is that is my 12th GPP win this year, and you know what all 12 of those have in common? They were built right here using the solver. Honest to God, this is the most GPP wins I've ever had in a year, and it's the first year I've ever used the solver. Is that a coincidence? I think not, right? You can have a good process. You can have a good player pool, but what you need is you need projections that you can count on, which, by the way, notice my projections are right there, already loaded in there with ownership. and you need an optimizer who will make the best versions of those lineups, right? You can have a great player pool and not have the nutted version of that player pool, and you're still screwed. And the solver builds all of them for me. It takes my human biases out of it, and it makes the best versions of my player pool. And I shipped a GPP yesterday and had a whole bunch of other ones up there simply because it made the best version of my player pool, and I don't know that I would have done it, okay? So if you're wondering, well, that sounds cool, DGN, but man, I'm just too much of a casual to afford that $100 a month shit that the other sites be charging. Well, don't worry. You can get all of my projections loaded in and my ownership and the solver itself to do all the work for you, and I have videos about how to walk you through all these rules over here to make the best versions of your lineups, and it runs you $25.99 a month or $39.99 a month will get you all the sports because I do PGA Showdown, college football, NFL Showdown, and they're all loaded in there for you. You get all of that as long as you use that Showdown Hoedown symbol right there, and my stuff will come preloaded for you. It's a pretty sweet deal. I encourage you to check it out. All right, let's get over to the game tonight. We got a big total. When was the last time we saw a 51-point total on a game? It's like the NFL's like, hey, what's the most boring game we could pick? And it's like the guy in the back's like, pick the one with a 39-point total. And the NFL's like, ooh, I like that. Let's do that. But tonight they picked two teams that are in desperate need of a win, two teams that have efficient offenses, two teams that tend to get into shootouts, and this is going to be a fun game, right? And here's the best part. There's not a ton of injury news. It's like both teams have their full complement of players, obviously outside of Mike Williams, who got hurt about 3 weeks ago, right? But as far as game time decisions today, we got Austin Eckler back. It appears as though our boy Josh Palmer is active. Parham is active. So there's not a ton of injury news that we need to get caught up on, right? The biggest news is that everybody's playing, and then what does that do, okay? So to lead off with the injury news, which I think is always the first place you want to look at, the Dallas side is relatively healthy, right? No big injuries over there. But I think for the Chargers, the big news is Austin Eckler is back, right? We haven't seen him since, what was it, week 2, right? And with Austin Eckler being back, this makes quite the conundrum, right? Because, well, first of all, he's the most expensive player on the slate. And we got to ask ourselves, what is his role going to be? I mean, of course, they've been really taking their time bringing him back, so we have to assume he is going to get a full allotment. We know how intertwined he is in that offense. He gets the goal line carries, he gets the third down work, he gets the majority of the rushes, okay? But there has to be a chance that maybe he only plays 50 or 60% of the plays tonight, as they don't want to bring him back and overdo it his first game, because they might still be thinking about the long run. But I will tell you this. What is interesting to me is I actually think that I like Josh Kelly more. No one's going to play Josh Kelly tonight because the guy has sucked while he had the lead role while Austin Eckler has been out, right? But, there's some guys who are just better as second running backs, right? Maybe Josh Kelly's role is being that change of pace guy, right? Being a guy who comes in when the defense is a little winded and offers a different look than Austin Eckler offers. And no one's going to play him. And let's say Eckler plays 60% of the carries tonight. Well, that still leaves 40% of the snaps to be split between Kelly and Spiller. Right? I don't love Josh Kelly as a smash play, but if you're looking to be different, you have a really chalky build and you want to know, how can I build this to be different? I think that maybe a narrative that could be out there is you hope that Eckler only plays 60% of the plays and Joshua Kelly is back to a role where he has found success before as a backup, because he sure as shit sucked when he was the lead back in this offense, right? So that's interesting. The other one with Josh Palmer being active, I thought if he was out, that was going to open up a massive amount of value for Quentin Johnson and Darius Davis, and to a lesser extent Keelan Doss. But with him being there, to me, he's definitively the number 2 receiver. I think he's very comparable to Gabe Davis. He's a guy that kind of is always out there but doesn't do shit. But 2 weeks a year, he's going to have a massive game. And at Showdown, you always got to be open to that, right? Josh Palmer's a guy I'm either playing at captain or I'm fading his ass. That's kind of how I would use him. The other one is Parham does appear as though he's going to play tonight at 2,200. He is always viable. He's a pretty damn good tight end, and honestly, he's getting almost as much usage as Everett this year. A little bit less. You can see over here 59 to 44 and 3.5 targets to 2, but Parham gets more he just gets a lot of red zone targets, which are super, super valuable for tight ends, right? Just like I told you last night, well, I guess I didn't tell you, but all the people on my Discord, I said, Morris is a guy that he could get there simply just because he gets red zone targets, and the motherfather got a freaking touchdown. I think that this really kills the value of the punt tight ends for the Chargers. It's Stone Smart, and I can't even remember the other slapdick, but I think those guys are almost unplayable now. I think if you're going to punt, you'd be better punting with a Keelan Doss or a Tolbert or a Schoonmaker. I think that those are just the better punt options. So that is the big injury news. Now let's get to the overall narrative. With a 51-point total, I think most people are going to be playing this as a shootout. I think you're going to see a lot of 3-3 builds, meaning that you're going to see 3 Cowboys and 3 Chargers because of the competitive game environment in great conditions with offenses that are going to probably be very aggressive. That is probably going to be the most common build. So right there off the top, if you are looking to get different, I think that the way that you can automatically get different is just consider putting a kicker or a defense in your lineup, or maybe 2 of them, right? Because we just saw last night, even the mighty Bills at home, who are unstoppable in a single game, anything can happen, right? The frickin' Browns just beat the 49ers, the unstoppable God-level 49ers. And if you were willing to play that contrarian lifestyle at GPPs and at Showdown, I think that the best one is you just play for a sloggy narrative tonight, right? Or maybe you play a Dallas blowout narrative or a Chargers blowout narrative. I think all 3 of those are going to be dramatically underowned. And if you're playing a Chargers blowout narrative, you go run 5 Chargers out there and just run it back with 1 Cowboy. If you're playing the Cowboys blowout narrative, you go play 5 Cowboys and 1 Charger. And then when you do that, you're almost certainly going to want one of those Cowboys or one of those Chargers, depending on what side you're on, to be a kicker or a defense, because in a blowout, one of those 2, if not both, almost always get there, right? To me, I think just looking at the Cowboys, so that's how those are the game scripts you can go with. If you're going to go with a shootout, obviously, I think the only way to probably do that is to try to nail one of these punts. Maybe you hope Rico Dowdle catches a screen and takes it to the house. Maybe Turpin catches a bomb, but we do need to watch his injury situation. Maybe you play Quentin Johnston. You know, he is overpriced at $4,200 for a guy that's only getting 29% of the snaps, but all he needs is one 60-yard touchdown and he's there, right? So if you're going to play the 3-3 build and play all quarterbacks and wide receivers, I think you're going to need to find the punt that scores a touchdown, right? That's going to be about your only way to path to success, because so many, I mean like 50% of lineups are going to build something like that, right? Like a 3-3 or a 4-2 with quarterbacks and pass catchers, right? So that's what you're going to have to do. To me, the more interesting thing to do is to consider what to do with each team individually, right? The Cowboys, Dak Prescott at $10,000, very fairly priced. It's very easy to get to him, but I think that more people are going to be off of him, because if they're going to spend their money on the Cowboys, they're going to spend it on Tony Pollard. He's only at $9,600, which to me is criminally underpriced, right? There's just no reason on God's green earth he should be $1,600 cheaper than Austin Eckler, right? So Tony Pollard is a guy who just feels like he is due for that breakout game. He is getting the touches, and that we know how explosive he is. Eventually, that water is going to find its level. That regression is going to hit, and he's going to have that 2-touchdown game with 100 yards, either rushing or receiving, because he takes a big one to the house, right? So Tony Pollard is a guy that, I think that he's going to be very highly owned, but I think that most people that play him are not going to be playing him with Dak. So maybe you stack those 2 together and then go play a punt wide receiver, right? Maybe that's how you could play it and be a little bit different. I think that Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn are viable punts. Deuce Vaughn is going to get a catch, and the guy is a little electric motherfather. Maybe he takes it to the house. That could be your punt piece in a shootout that gets there, right? A wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb at $9,000. Once again, I just think is criminally underpriced. I think that he is going to be the focal point of this. He's very, very stackable, but we're not the only ones that know that he is underpriced. He is going to be very popular. To me, the more interesting targets here are Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup. Both of them have been getting downfield targets, and I think that in an aggressive game, those are 2 very high leverage guys. I will warn you that Michael Gallup at $2,800 is probably going to be everybody's favorite pay down option, so be careful eating that Michael Gallup chalk. If you do it, I just encourage you to think about how your roster is composed. Which, by the way, this thing is the Rosetta Stone right here. If you're wanting to see all my ownership and projections and all of that, we have that right here. This is the colored up one I do for all my members over on the website. But more on that in a minute. I think Jake Ferguson is in a great spot here. I think he might, tight ends and kickers and defenses always get forgotten about in shootout narratives. Jake Ferguson is a guy that seems to be getting more and more intertwined in this offense. I honestly, he could even be a sneaky captain play if he gets, maybe gets 6 catches, 50 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That could break the slate, right? And I think that, honestly, I think I would rather have him just as much as I would rather have Cooks and Gallups. I agree that he doesn't have the big upside, but I would almost bet money he probably gets more targets than either of them. So I think that adds a lot of value to him. Once again, in a shootout narrative, especially with the road team in a shootout narrative, kickers and defenses are going to go lower owned than they probably should be, because everybody is just going to assume that wide receivers and tight ends and backup running backs are going to outpace the kicker and defense. But if you want to go with one of those counter narratives, I think that there is some validity there. Heading over to the Chargers, Justin Herbert at $10,800. If I were playing cash, I would just put Justin Herbert in there. He's a good quarterback. I don't know how else to say it. And he's aggressive. And if you don't know, aggressive quarterbacks score a lot of fantasy points because they just fucking chunk it deep. Austin Eckler, we've already went over him. I think that he's very viable to play, but if you're looking to be a little contrarian, maybe you can buy the narrative that he will be a bit limited. And by limited, I mean 65% of the snaps, which is still a lot, but it's not like workhorse, right? I don't see any way he gets 80% of the snaps tonight, right? And so if he doesn't, I think that opens up some value for Joshua Kelly. At the wide receiver, Keenan Allen has still just been an incredible usage monster, averaging 11 targets a game. He's almost always on the field. You can see he's out on the field 89% of the time. I think he is as safe as can be. I think you can plug him in for 10 targets and 8 catches almost as a lock, right? But to me, the real value in this game is what do we do with these Charger wide receivers? As I told you, Joshua Palmer's just like Gabe Davis. He's all or nothing. He's going to get you 5 points tonight or he's going to get you 35. That's the only thing that motherfather knows. And so there's some value there. Quentin Johnston, you cannot overlook this guy, the rookie out of TCU. They spent a lot of draft equity on him, and he is getting out on the field more. And more important than that, he gets high value targets, meaning that he gets those in a game of Showdown. You just need that 160-yard touchdown and you're there, right? Whereas a lot of times we want those guys who get the safer catches because, when you're getting out, look at my boy Kendrick Bourne yesterday. Thank you, Kendrick Bourne, for shipping a GPP for me. He just gets 3-yard catch, 3-yard catch, 3-yard catch, and those really add up. But in Showdown, that's not necessarily what we want, right? We want that cheap guy who gets the one big play. In a Showdown slate, that one big play matters so much more than on a main slate, right? One play hardly ever defines a main slate, but in Showdown, one play often defines an entire slate. At tight end, Gerald Everett, I think he's going to be pretty low owned, right? He is kind of like every tight end in the NFL this year. He has sucked balls, and I think that at 4,600 he is viable, right? I think he's viable, especially because I think people are going to be like, why would I not just pay $2,400 less and play Parham, which is a pretty valid argument, right? I never mind Dicker the kicker. As a team at home in a dome, never mind a kicker. And if you're buying the narrative that the Chargers are going to blow out the Cowboys, which I think is a pretty bold narrative, but if you want to run with that, I think the Chargers defense is imperative to have, and that can then be your punt option at 3,200 because kickers and defenses go criminally under-owned in these games that are perceived shootouts. So once again, if you're convinced this game's going to be a shootout, you probably don't want to play kickers and defense. If you think that it could be a blowout one way or the other, I think kickers and defense's value for the winning team goes up exponentially. And if you think that it's going to be a slog, I think kickers and defenses get about a 30% bonus to their points because they are going to often outpace second and third wide receivers, okay? And they become very nice paydown options. That's my thoughts on the slate tonight. I think more than anything, it always comes down to this. Pick your narrative and build lineups that tell that story, okay? Whatever your narrative is, okay? Then build lineups that tell that, right? If you were going with you think it's going to be a shootout narrative and you have the Cowboys and the Chargers defense in there, I don't think you know how to construct lineups, right? If you were going with a shootout narrative, you're probably going to want to have both quarterbacks, probably a pass catcher from each team, and then maybe like a third down running back or a tight end or something like that, right? Because that's who usually gets there in shootout type games. So you've got to let your narrative dictate to you what you think is going to happen. I see we're up to 87 likes. Get me up to 100 likes so we can do 2 drawings. While will you guys get me up to 100 likes, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, djn75.com. We are coming off our best month ever in September. I thank every single one of you for liking to this channel, subscribing to this channel, and also checking out my website and telling your friends. It means a lot to me. Yes, I had a very good week at DFS, but it's never about me. It's all about these motherfathers. Wait until you see the new collage coming out tomorrow from this weekend. Absolutely insane how well people are doing. Everybody's forming their own process. It's not about stupid fucking picks and plays and all that bullshit. You go to those tout sites and pay $100 a month if you want that shit. That's not where it is. Over at my site, I'm about giving you the best tool out there, the Rosetta Stone, and not fucking price gouging you to do it, because you should be putting more of your money towards your DFS lineups and not towards the site that gives you your tools. And if you want to try it out, I am, for this 1 month only, I'm doing code new guy. You get 10% off whatever package you sign up for. Just put it in there when you sign up on the site. It will give you 10% off. I bet you'll love it. And if you want to try it before you do, just sign up for my newsletter, which is in the description of this video. Let the editor know, or support right here, support at DGen75. Is that what it is? At support DGen75 on Twitter. Just let them know. We'll get you a free week over on the site. Highest level we have, all access. Well, the highest level we have is big guy, but it's going to be all access. All right, editor, I see 95 likes. Go ahead and draw me one right now, editor, and then once we get to 100, we'll draw another one. This is to build a lineup with me tonight. Simply reach out to me on Twitter, or if you're on the Discord, reach out to me there. We will build a lineup together on me. I will split the profits with you 50-50. Already had some really good sweats in the Millionaire Maker. Had a couple lineups get in the top 2,000 this week. So we had, just always that one asshole. Dice Hawk is our winner. Editor, once that gets to 100 likes, I'm up to 98. Let me get a swig. I bet by the time I get this swig, we'll be up to 100 likes. 154 people can't get 100 likes. Got some real slappies in here. Cold brew afternoon. You know this smacks. You know it smacks. Editor, we're going to preemptively do it. Draw me another one. I see 100 likes. Oh, I didn't see the logo up at top a lot. I did see that logo up top a lot. Hey, that's right. We had a bunch of them, right? People flying that flag. It was up there a lot. Just wait until you see the new screenshots, right? Boom, 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 boom. And you know who's won't be on there? Mine, because I'm not a loser. By the way, Bobby Boom, there you go. All right, 100 likes. If you guys get me up to, let's say 130, we'll do another one. 130 likes, we'll do another one. I'm going to go answer some questions before we get out of here, right? Let's see if it's popping up. Yeah, it looks like they're popping up on the screen today. Austin says, what will be the most common build tonight? 3-3. Yeah, I think 3-3 in a competitive environment, especially in a high total competitive environment. Austin, 3-3s, excuse me, will always be the most common. Probably with a Cowboy captain or Cowboy at the captain, and then the second most will be a 3-3 with a Charger at the captain, and then the third most common will be a 4-2 with the Cowboys at captain. Right? That will be the three most common. Okay. What's up, Jordan? Glad to have you here, you motherfather. Welcome all the new guys. What's up, new guy? Hope you're enjoying the channel, new guy. Let's see. Apollo the King says, is Palmer being questionable really affect our construction process? I'm pretty sure he's playing, Apollo, and if he's playing, I got to imagine he's probably good to go. If you're looking for a reason to fade him, maybe you could buy that, or maybe you could buy the fact that like he's only good 2 weeks a season. I think those are both very viable things. But I will tell you, if you're not at least considering Josh Palmer and the captain, I don't know that you're doing it right. Because that guy, when he has big games, he has big games. We got to acknowledge that, right? Let's see. How did playing Kazja go for the big guy? I do not know what the fuck. Oh, Cash. Okay. Yeah, I talked about it on the retrospective, Steven. Go check it out. The retrospective is up every week over on my website. I do a retrospective going over exactly how I did at every sport. I don't bullshit. I'm not one of those people who's like, I post my screenshots and I always win. If you only knew the secret about these touts and how much money they fucking blow through every week to put those up, because they got to do that because they burn through so many members, they have to do that to keep getting people to go to their sites. I don't do that. I'm completely transparent about everything I do. I try to preach stability, having fun at DFS, getting a process, and if you do that long enough, you can find success and win, right? I don't promise you'll win, and I sure as shit ain't going to give you any picks to win. I'm just here to give you some guidance, and that's what the retrospective's all about. That's up free for all of my members over on my Discord. If you want to check it out, once again, just go sign up for the fucking newsletter, and it'll get you a free week on there. And then, I think the editor told me 75% of people that do the free week just turn around and sign up. Do you ever put defense in the captain spot? I'm not opposed to it at all, Dice Hawk. In this game, though, I think that's particularly bold to do because there's just so many good options, right? CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, all being underpriced. That makes it really hard to justify a defense there, right? I do think a defense could be viable tonight. I just don't know if I love him in the captain spot, especially if you think that this game does get to that 51-point total. Cooper, he says defenses tonight, I don't mind them at all, especially in the flex, but it has to fit your narrative. And I think the narratives that defenses fit is the Chargers blow out the Cowboys blow out the Chargers, or it's a slog. If you're buying any of those three narratives, I think a defense from the winning team or both teams makes a lot of sense, right? If you're going with the sloggy game. Thoughts on fading Dak? The more I've thought about it, I almost kind of like a Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb from the Cowboys, and then fade Dak, right? Just hope that CeeDee gets 9 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown, and he basically eats up all the usage. Tony Pollard runs in 2 touchdowns, and then Dak just gets 220 yards and a touchdown. And at $10,000, he's likely not going to pay that off. I don't know that's how I want to build because I don't know if that fits my narrative on how I think the game's going to play out tonight. But I do think that is a sneaky way to get the value from Dallas because most people that have CeeDee will almost certainly have Dak, but there is a way in which CeeDee could get there and Dak doesn't, right? Because he can be such a usage monster. Is Quinton Johnson breakout game? I could buy that. You ain't got to sell me real hard on Quinton Johnson. They spent draft equity on him. The guy is a big talent, and he gets bombs. All 3 of those things make me think that he could. I'm not predicting that because I don't predict shit. You know this, Brett. Too early for banjos and a beer? No, not on a Monday. Monday, you should always have your first beer cracked open by noon. Let's see. With the by the way, if you don't put a question mark, I'm not reading it. Okay, guys. With the Chargers defensive being the worst against quarterback, can that fix Dak? Yeah, I think Dak's a fine play tonight, right? But the problem is I'm not the only one realizing Dak's a good play tonight, and so you start having to ask yourself, is he such a good play that I'm going to eat that chalk? That's the question only you can answer, Tyler, because I don't know how you're feeling about the game. What did you learn about the Cowboys team last week at San Francisco spanking? Here's what I always learn about an NFL team after they come off a spanking. In the NFL, now in college football, that shit has a psychological effect on teams, right? But for the NFL, that shit doesn't matter. These guys are grown-ass men who are professionals at what they do. Just like everybody thought that the 49ers were God level, I was all about the Browns this last week. The difference between the best team in the NFL and the worst team in the NFL is that much, right? And so, yes, the Cowboys laid a fucking egg last week, and they look like they sucked. I am no more or less confident they are going to play a good game tonight simply off of what I saw last week. You just can't overreact in the NFL. College football, you can overreact. Wouldn't do it in NFL, Bob. Keep hitting that like button, you motherfathers. Does a 50-point total eliminate kickers and defenses for you? Yeah, probably. Because in a 50-point total, unless the one of those is like a pick six or something, it just those tight ends, those third wide receivers, those running backs, even backup running backs, so often outpace the defense and the kickers, right? So that, yes, Jeff, if you think it's going to be over a 50-point total, you're believing what Vegas is going to say, then I think that the defenses and the kickers get a big nerfing. But I think that most people are going to be thinking that way too. Think Cooper Rush in the flex is too crazy? I mean, I don't love it, Bub. I don't love it. I think, like, at some point there's getting too cute, right? There's getting too cute, and I think that might be it. All right, CeeDee Lamb, a classic squeaky wheel gets the grease situation. I mean, we already saw it with Jamar Chase this year. It makes a lot of sense. I would say, like, if you made me pick, like, who am I the most confident will have a big game tonight, I would probably say, I think Pollard or Lamb. I think one of those two goes absolutely nuclear tonight, right? I don't see a way that not one of them has a big game, unless the Chargers blow them out, right? That would be the only way I could see that. But CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard, one, if not both of those guys are just poised for a big game, and they're both underpriced, in my opinion, for where they should be in a showdown game. So, yeah, I'm buying that Tingus Mingus. Lock Eckler in a 20 max. I mean, you know, Higmanu, as the most expensive person on the slate, on a guy just coming back off injury, you always have to worry about the re-aggravation. You always have to worry about the snap count. And you also have to worry about, you know, maybe Josh Kelly earned some trust with the coaches and they still want to keep him out there X amount of plays, right? So I don't love that. I think there's other guys I would rather lock in my 20 max than an $11,200 Eckler, but it's your world. You do you, boo. All right, single entry, leave more money on the table. You know, I think you could leave some money on the table with so many of the studs being underpriced. I think Dak, Pollard, Lamb, and honestly, probably even Keenan Allen versus how much he gets. I think they're all underpriced. And if all those guys are underpriced, I think Ferguson should probably be about $6,400 too. So with so many underpriced guys, I think you can easily leave $1,000 on the table tonight. All right, let's see. All right, Andrew. An absolute slogfest going to be a valid bill tonight or too unlikely? I mean, look, if as I said earlier, Andrew, if the Bills can get in a sloggy game at home with that offense, to me that means anybody can. But I will say, in a dome with these two offenses, it's very unlikely. But you also got to remember, everybody thinks that. Like something like 80% of lineups will be built around a up-pace, high-scoring game. So if you can just somehow get a slogfest, the teams aren't efficient, the defenses get some, are really playing well, something like that, and these teams aren't converting on third down, you instantly block out 80 to 90% of the field simply by building a narrative that's different than everybody else. So you basically have to ask yourself this. What is more likely? Like, what percentage of people are going to build that? I think over 80% of lineups will be built around a quote-unquote shootout narrative, right? So then you need to ask yourself, what percentage of this time will this game be a slog? If you think this game could be a slog, maybe 25% of the time, well, that 25% leverage would be more than the 20% of people who will be building that way. I think that's a good enough way to do it. You could box out something like 80% of the field. But, that's up to you to determine what you think that number is, right? I can't see the future, so I can't give you one. Asante Samuel, how many picks tonight? Well, I'm not good at that, but I would guess 0 would be my guess. What expensive player is the number one candidate to fail tonight? That's a good question. I'd probably go Eckler. I mean, I know Eckler's awesome. I love Austin Eckler. I'm not telling you to fade him, but if I had to say a guy coming off an injury, you never know what to expect. And running backs, let's face it, running backs more than any other position flop more just because they can get scripted out of a game. They get banged up more easily than other positions. And in a shootout narrative, running backs tend to get outpaced by wide receivers more often. And with him being the most expensive guy, I guess I'd say him. I'm not telling you to fade Austin Eckler. I will probably play Austin Eckler. I'll probably just try to play him different than everybody else does, right? With a 5-1 Dallas stack, what would be a good captain option? I think in a 5-1 Dallas stack, that probably means they are kicking that ass. They're up. I would probably say Tony Pollard would be my favorite captain, him or Lamb in that build, right? Or I guess you could go with Dak and like 2 or 3 of his pass catchers. Or maybe Dak, 2 pass catchers, Pollard, right? Maybe you go Dak, as the captain, Pollard, Lamb, Ferguson, and then either the kicker or the defense, right? I think that could be a pretty viable build. D. Walton, don't recognize you. New guy, welcome. Is tonight a night for Gerald Everett to fall in the box while everyone wants to play Ferguson or pump Parham? Yeah, I think Everett is a big forgotten about guy who will be on the field a lot and who will probably get you 4 to 5 targets, right? And they do like to target him. The Chargers target their tight ends in the red zone quite a bit, right? So I think Gerald Everett at 4,600, people are going to want to just pay down. They'll either pay the 600 more to get to Ferguson or they'll drop down the 2,400 to get to Parham. He's interesting to me just as a straight game theory play, right? In your opinion, how will the game flow? I mean, it feels like a 27-24 type game. I'm not going to lie. Like, both of these teams are going to be aggressive tonight. Both of these teams desperately need a win. And the Chargers at home just seem to get in a bunch of fucking shootouts. But I also play the game, so I might have to go play like a Chargers blowout narrative or something like that, right? How much money left on the table? On this slate, I said earlier, I would be okay leaving up to $1,000 on the table, maybe even $1,500. But man, I think you really want to get some of these studs tonight. We got some real usage monsters in this game. Eric, put a question mark. Can you play Kelly and Eckler? You can, but I would only probably do that in a Chargers blowout narrative. Put a question mark, or I won't answer them, you donkeys. Oh, we're up to 118 likes. We're making a hard rally to 130. If after the season I haven't had one reasonable spike in small to medium sized fields, the process for, I mean, once again, Chad, I talk about this on the retrospective, to try to just look at 18 weeks and determine if you have a good process. I don't think that's it. I think you need multiple dozens, like at least 36 to 48 weeks of real data to determine if your process is good or broken, right? And really the answer is probably more like 100. This is why I like PGA, because between Showdown, I'm getting like 4 Showdown slates every week. I'm getting my, there's a golf tournament every week of the year, basically. So I'm getting something like 150 data points a year easily to determine if my process is fixed or broken. At NFL, I don't think you can do that, right? Like, I didn't win any GPPs last year at NFL. Does that mean that I have a broken process, or did I just not have a big enough sample? Well, so far this year, I'm up quite a bit doing the exact same thing I did as last year. And I've already covered anything that I lost last year, and I'm way up this year. So, with that, I think that Eugene might just need a longer sample. That would be my analysis, right? Now, if you're never sniffing any type of caches, then maybe you might be doing it wrong. I encourage you to watch the retrospective over on my site, Chad. Any interest in playing one of the tight ends at captain to save some money? I think that could get there. I don't mind it, Snoopaloop. I don't mind it, Brocephus. With Diggs being out for Dallas, will this open up the secondary to be more vulnerable? Sure. Diggs is a badass. But I will say this about Diggs. Diggs is a guy that gets a lot of his notoriety for all the interceptions he gets, right? He is a dude that loves to jump routes, which on the flip side of that, he's also a dude that gets burnt by double moves quite a bit, right? So, the fact that he's out may actually hurt some of the receivers because he won't get burned on those deep, double moves as often. So there is a counter narrative to that. Magic School Bus says, any cash tips? Yeah, I think at cash, I think you're really going to want to probably try to get these good players that are underpriced, right? Pollard and Lamb, Ferguson, I think are all underpriced. Probably you want to have Herbert in there. I think tonight might be a good one to play cash, right? Just try to get your one punt right, and I think you're there, bro. I think you're there. With both defenses healthy, who sucks less? I mean, I always err on the side of a superstar. Dallas has Parsons, and that guy's always just a sack, fumble, take it to the house waiting to happen, right? And that's 9 points right there. Do you have to have a QB at captain if you're playing a shootout narrative? No, you do not. Wide receivers can often outpace a quarterback in those shootout narratives, right? So a guy like CeeDee Lamb or Keenan Allen or Josh Palmer, somebody like that, even Brandon Cooks, can outpace the quarterbacks if they get a bunch of catches or they get 2 touchdowns, right? Because I know you know this, but quarterbacks' touchdowns only count as 4. And they only get that point for every 25 yards. Whereas wide receivers are getting 6 points for those touchdowns. They're getting a point for those catches, and they're getting a point for every 10 yards. So they just add up so much faster than quarterbacks if they are being usage monsters. Now, if you think the quarterback's going to be spacing it out to everybody, then yeah, you would probably want a quarterback. How do you remain so calm while being a genius? I don't think I'm a genius. I think I just play a whole bunch of DFS, and I got a lot of experience. I learned from the school of hard knocks. If you think I've always been a winning player, I haven't. I got kicked in the dick for many years. That's why I try to be that guy that I wish I would have found 7.5, 8 years ago. Do you think both QBs toss for 300? If it in a shootout, Mac, I think so. All right, could this be the first time of the season unless they have changed the rules? Could this be the first time of the season? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Oh, the first tie game. Yeah, I don't think so. Does Dak have the same Texas QB syndrome as Ewers and Max Johnson? No, because he played at Mississippi State, so he is not a loser piece of shit. Only loser piece of shits play at Texas and Texas A&M. Where's my? Wow, I don't have the OU music plugged in. We're up to 125 likes. I can't believe we're rallying so hard here. Cowboys D as captain. I mean, I'll tell you what, Eric. That's bold. That's bold. All right. Oh, by the way, how dare you have the last name Shank? All right. That guy screwed my lineups this week. How dare you, Eric? I'm kidding. I don't hold it against you. You're here for NFL, not PGA. All right. Dak as a captain going to be popular? Absolutely. Will CD be an optimal? I think so. I think CD will be an optimal. Which, by the way, that reminds me. Two things I want to plug real quick. Go check out, at the top of the hour, don't forget to go check out my dudes over at Ship It Nation. They will be doing their Monday Night Football show. So go check out Title Hoop and Tambo as they do their show. And also, don't forget to go check out, if you're a props guy, you got to go check out Run the Sims. I didn't put the tab up, and I don't want to put my log in, but I used that prop sniper. There we go. Can't even speak yesterday, and I hit a couple nice ones, right? So be checking that out. I think on these single game slates, if you're a guy that likes props, this little prop sniper is really good over there. It's only $50 a month, which is pretty good. And if you use my code DGen75, it gets you 20% off, 10 or 20% off. Plug it in, let them know I sent you, okay? Getting back to the questions, let's see. Will the Texas Coast offense just dump it to Pollard all night? I possibly. Let's see. Do you think Eckler's going to be under-owned? No, I think Eckler's going to be pretty popular, but I think that other people are going to realize, oh shit, I could just save $1,600 and play Pollard too. So I also don't think he's going to be mega chalk also, right? Feels like a Lamb explosion. I don't hate it, Mr. Merrick. I don't hate it. Oh, shit, editor, we got 130 likes. I didn't think we'd get there. Draw another one. Any stock in the narrative that Kellen Moore versus Dan Quinn in practice for 3 years in Dallas? I mean, I don't give much to those narratives, but I don't hate it. If you go to Ferguson and the captain, do you have to go Dak in the flex? No, because Dak could have a pretty mediocre game, still throw two touchdowns, 190 yards, and just a lot of it goes to Ferguson, and then Dak doesn't get there, right? Do you like Gallup or Ferguson more? Probably Ferguson, but I think Gallup probably offers more upside. But I will tell you, I think he's also going to be popular. That $2,800 price tag when you're trying to get to a bunch of skill players, I think is going to be very, very enticing. No OU music for CD Lamb. Don't make me plug it in, Bart. I got the Steam Deck right here. I'll fucking plug it in and play it. I will do it, you mother father. Let's see. Oh, Eric, after I just shit on him, then he wins. Let's go, Eric. Congratulations. Reach out to me. We'll build a lineup together. No way we get to 150 likes, by the way. No way. You guys can't do it. You're soft. All right. Johnson at captain, too stupid to work. No, I think you don't got to sell me, right? If he gets 2 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown, that probably gets you there, right? Because he's just so affordable, right? I mean, $4,200, that's cheap. Especially, and then he's only $6,300 at the captain spot, so you're saving a ton of money. Then you basically only got to punt, like a half punt in that lineup, and you can play 4 studs. What do you think about Kellen Moore knows about the Cowboys personnel that Chargers? Yeah, I mean, it could be a thing. I'm not buying any of that. Would a 2-4 with Dallas as a captain? Yeah, I think so. If you want to go 4 Chargers, 2 Cowboys, and a Cowboy at the captain, that is a way. I think that will be a different build. Yes, I do. Let's see. How did the cash expansion go yesterday? Talked about it over on the retrospective. Made a last-minute change. I got about 50% back of what I put in, so overall a down day. But the biggest mistake was I had Kupp and Hubbard, and last minute I switched them to Montgomery and Collins. And then with Montgomery getting hurt, that really kind of killed my cash lineup, right? Which is unfortunate because, I basically bubbled in a lot of them. And probably would have cashed across the board if he just gets me like 15 points or so, right? 1 TD from Eckler, and he'll be the youngest running back ever to reach a 30 touchdown reception. Yeah, I'm not buying that. You get the fuck out of here. You get out of here with it. All right. DG says it's rigged. Editor, boot this motherfucker. I ain't got time for that. You don't think it's rigged? I got a little note I wrote down here. If you think my contests are rigged, then fuck off. I don't need you to watch my shit, you whiny bitch. All right, guys, this has been fun. Do not forget to hit the like button. Tell a friend about me. Go check out my site, dgen75.com. Sign up for the newsletter. And if you want to sign up for the site, use code NEWGUY. All right, guys, it has been fun. It has been real. I appreciate 165 of you swinging by on a Monday. It has been real, you mother fathers, but I got to run. For all of you over on my Discord, 6 o'clock stream tonight. We will be there as the enactors come out, and we will be talking everything Monday Night Football for the rest of you. I will see you tomorrow when I break down the slate with Tambo. Adios, you mother fathers. Enjoy this outro.